Hey guys, in this video we're going to be checking out the Leader 120 from FullSpeed RC. This is a little bit bigger size micro, 120mm motor. You can see it's an H frame, it's not an X frame. It's a little bit shorter front to back versus side to side. It does come with 1104 7500 kV motors. These are kind of similar to the ones that came on the Aurora 90 and Aurora 100. You get a 4-in-1 10 amp BLHeli ESC. It does run D-Shot 600. The flight controller is an F3 Omnibus with an OSD, and you've got I think this is the VM2751 with the video in, video out connections for the OSD here. And this one does not come with a receiver, it just comes as a plug and play only. So you do have to find your own micro receiver and solder it on, and you would just solder it on to these connections right here. There's 3 pins here, that's for UART3 on the receive, and you get your ground, 5 volts and signal. The 3 pins behind these 3 pins in the front are for your Spectrum, and it's going to be ground, 3.3 volts and signal for your Spectrum satellites. I'll put a list of some micro receivers in the description. I also did that for the Grasshopper 94. All of the micro drones that come from FullSpeed RC are plug and play, so you have to get your own receiver. I think this is the FlySky RX2A Pro. It's a pretty good micro receiver. I've got no issues with that one in terms of range or fail-safes, and I am running iBus on that one. Now the props on here are 70mm 3-bladed props, or 2.8 inches. These are the same ones that come on the King Kong 110 GT and also the FlyEgg 130. They do draw a little bit more power, but you get quite a bit of power on 2S on these 3-bladed props. I do know that on the FlyEgg 130, I flew those on 3S, and the motors got pretty hot on 3S for these props. So on the back here, you do have a buzzer and a LED. I don't believe that LED is programmable. The width of the 2 side plates here is about 20mm. And if you saw my, I think it's the FD120 video, I actually did a custom build with this frame. I think it was before FullSpeed RC started coming out with this model. And I built it with I think it was the Spintech 1106 motors and RunCam Microsoft. So if you guys are wondering if a Microsoft will fit in here, it does fit in there. It is a pretty tight fit. Especially with this standoff in the front here, but you can squeeze it in. Now since this is a plug and play, it doesn't come with any instructions or obviously no receiver, but you do get a battery. The same battery came with the Grasshopper 94. It's this 500 milliamp hour 50C 2S battery. It's an okay battery. It comes with a JST connector, matches the one on here. And you also get a spare set of props. So I know that some of the other reviewers like Andy RC and Frequent Flyer RC have had flips of death with this model, and there's been some debate and discussion out there as to how to fix that. I think Andy RC raised his throttle, min throttle, our digital speed, whatever it's called, digital idle speed, to 10%. And so I kind of did the same thing. I raised it up a little bit. I didn't have to go as far as 10% to get the death rolls to go away. I went to 8.5%, and it worked fine for me. I think Frequent Flyer RC went down to 3.7, so I think it's going to vary on your particular model. Not sure if all the models come with the same ESCs. I'm going to do a separate video where I'm going to investigate these ESCs. I'm going to see if this one and the Grasshopper comes with the same ESC. You can see what ESC it is in BLHeli Suite or BLHeli Configurator in Chrome, and I'm going to compare it to some of the other 4-in-1 10 amp ESCs that I've got that are running D-Shot 600 no problem on the default. I think the default's 4.5% on the digital idle speed. Anyway, 8.5% is not so bad. On the Grasshopper 94, I had to go all the way up to 11%, which is kind of even more floaty. And so having the idle speed up that high does affect the flight characteristics quite a bit. Having the idle speed up to about 8.5% on this guy Doesn't really change it a whole lot because these props are so big. It's already very floaty, so I didn't feel it as much when I was flying it around, and I thought it flew pretty good. I didn't change or mod anything else. Stuck with the JST connector, although I probably will eventually mod this and take this out and put a XT30 on here so I can use my XT30 batteries. I think my XT30 batteries are a little bit better than my JST batteries. The other thing that I did change on here is I flashed Betaflight 3.2 release candidate on the flight controller. So it's possible that having the newer version of Betaflight may have allowed me to decrease my digital idle speed compared to some of the other reviewers who are probably running Betaflight 3.1.5. I don't know. I don't know the inner workings of Betaflight to explain the difference or why mine would be different, but this is how it worked out for me. I will have a future video on how to flash Betaflight 3.2, like more of a general video for a lot of these micro drones, because they are very similar. A lot of them have either the Omnibus F3 or the Omnibus F4. There's not a lot of variations beyond that, especially for the ready to fly ones. So I'm going to do a separate video in the near future on how to do a Betaflight flash and configure basic setup, and so you can get up in the air. Otherwise, I can just do the same, configuration on all these drones over and over again every video. It's just going to add another 20 to 30 minutes to every video, which is kind of stupid, so I'm not going to be doing that. So be on the lookout for that video pretty soon, and that'll be more of a general video for everybody. Anyway guys, I'm going to show you some of the flight footage that I had on this. I was flying with the stock battery for all these flights, just the standard 500 milliamp hour 2S battery, and I thought that the stock battery was just fine. I will talk about the flight characteristics on a voiceover during the playback of that video. So there's not really a whole lot to say about how the Leader 120 flies. I think it flies fantastic. Now do keep in mind that I am flying this on Betaflight 3.2 release candidate 3, so it's definitely going to be different than the stock configuration, and I think that you can probably tell that from the other review videos if you compare my flight demo to some of the other flight demos out there. That being said, I'm going to have a video on a Betaflight 3.2 flashing tutorial at some point in the near future, so stay tuned for that, and you guys can find out how you can flash this on your Leader 120. And by the way, I am flying with just the stock PIDs in Betaflight 3.2, so just gives you an idea of how good Betaflight has been getting with just stock tunes. Just basically flash, bind up your receiver, and basically go and fly. So it was pretty easy for me. I just flashed the firmware, and then went and did a little bit of configuring in terms of my radio and my aux channels for my switch arming, and then I went and flew it. So there's definitely a lot of power with the Leader 120 on these 2.8-inch props. You've probably seen that in a lot of the other flight demos as well. I believe it's because it's almost a 3-inch prop on these 1104 motors. Even on 2S, it's got plenty of power for a really good freestyle flying, a lot of acrobatics. I will do some further testing on the Leader 120 with the Rotorex 2535 props for you guys that are interested in multi-GP racing. I know this frame is going to be pretty popular for the multi-GP racers, so I'm going to do some testing on the 2S setup just with the stock configuration with the JSD plug. Anyway guys, in conclusion, I think that this is a fantastic micro, definitely worth looking into. I definitely have to do some more research in terms of the whole idle speed issue and death rolls, but in my case I was able to get away with just setting it to 8.5, and it didn't give me any death rolls, and it flies pretty good in that particular case. So I'll go ahead and leave you guys with a little bit more flight footage here. Let me know if you guys have any questions, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one.